What's the difference? What's that 1 millimeter of a person that goes from just being good to being outstanding? And it is just 1 millimeter. I grew up in Brooklyn, New York. Everyone's got a story, right? You know, everyone's got a story. And, you know, I really don't want to, you know, categorize, well, because, you know, I had holes in my shoes, or, you know, we looked for 25 cents to buy pasta to eat. And that is my background. But I think equally, you know, that, you know, the challenges that I had and that people in that category have can propel you to, you know, be more and to be your best and be better than yesterday. I started the firm not because I woke up one day and wanted to be an entrepreneur, but I was a chief information officer in technology and took technology company public, and then I got laid off as a star performer at an early age of 24. And I woke up and said, oh gosh, what do I do, you know, next? And other executives that I collaborated with in the past, such as Dave Duffield, who started PeopleSoft that was sold to Oracle, said, what are you gonna do? And I said, I'm out of the technology field, and I'm gonna go open a pizza store in Rehoboth Beach, Delaware, and have cutoffs and a t-shirt. And he said, well, while you're just trying to figure out what you're gonna do, help me. Another individual said to me, my charter is to leverage technology and implement, you know, an advanced human resource system. And before I knew it, I had a handful of major clients. And they believed in me, and then, like Napoleon Hill says, when two minds meet, a third mind is created. And that's how Maximum Potential got started. The Rapid Engineered Mind, which is a methodology that I've developed, it's a study of 22 different psychologies in human behavior. Governments actually use that technology. It's a system implementation methodology. AOL used it when they started out, and Disney has used it, IBM, Oracle, PeopleSoft, and it starts from strategic planning to rapid re-engineering to developing technology solutions based on corporate strategies and growth and people. And so what we did was develop technology solutions that really zeroed in on, you know, the person, who they are, and, you know, their profile, their skill sets, and what do they need to do to grow. And we were just really at the heart wanted to change the way the world did business. My mother and father split, and you know, my father had a challenge with alcohol. And so although they loved each other so much, you know, he needed to get a hold of it. And so my mother and I moved away when I was 5 years old. I can recall that my mother had this little table and chairs for me, and she would sit me as she worked in the kitchen and prepared dinner and what she did. And she would tell me about, you know, reading and how, you know, leaders were readers. And I mean, I can remember, I could even visualize myself sitting at this chair. Then she would tell me how important spirituality was, and how, you know, you have to have faith in yourself, and you were sent here special, and you were here to do special things, and you are special in a humble way, because she was a very humble woman. You know, she was really an angel, you know. Now I'm into almost my teenage years, maybe 12 years old, and I'm recognizing that there's a difference. That in the neighborhood that I lived in, you know, they had money, but we didn't. If I could understand what was the difference, what was that 1 or 2 millimeter difference, that I would definitely have a competitive advantage in life. This spirituality and this love and this compassion and this belief in myself and this higher power was the foundation of everything that was going to propel my entire life. I knew it. I knew it then and there, and I said, if I have this as my foundation, all that money and everything that they have, I'm gonna have. It's just a matter, because you know what? I'm going to achieve it, and I'm gonna make a difference. We talk about the 9 ports of life, and one is our spirituality, regardless of all religions. And I've had the privilege to, work with brilliant minds, whether they're the Tony Robbins of the world or whatever, and learn from them. And that's contribution. That's one of the ports of life, is contribution. So contributing first to yourself. How can you contribute to someone else, whether it's a family or it's a huge corporation, unless you contribute to yourself? And let people contribute. I had to learn that. So that was a lesson for me, and I think that's really key, to learn how to accept contribution. The third I would say is health, your physical and mental health. For you to really maximize your life, your physical body has got to be healthy. Also your mental health. So every day it's really critical to, some people call it meditate, but to prime, and we could look priming up, and priming is really key, and that's when you get up in the morning, is that you have a ritual. Now I know you talk about rules, beliefs, and values, which are great, but if we have the belief that our mental and physical health is critical and we don't have the right rituals, we're going nowhere. And I've studied what is, again, that 1 millimeter to what makes somebody good versus and great, phenomenal, is, they'll wake up in the morning and they prime. And that priming is, to just sit and center into what is it that you're grateful for in your life. And then after that, what is it that I'm going to do today? What is important to me? What is my plan? What is my journey? Not somebody else's plan, not somebody else's journey, because we are all following a plan. And if we're not careful, we can be following other people's plans. The fourth component is your relationships. Your family, your relationship with your children, and that accountability is so key. We have a relationship to our finances. Fortunately or unfortunately, it drives the engine, right? And I spend several hours a day, a minimum of 1, on finance. And then your relationship to your business and your clients. I mean, that's a huge commitment. They've put a lot of faith in you and belief in you. And, that weighs on me. But that's okay, because, that gives you that hunger, that gives you that drive to be better, to exceed, to, give more than they ever expected. Another port of life is your sphere of influence. You are the most influential person in your life. And it all starts with the core inside you, your soul, and how do you tap into, and this is what the Rapid Engineered Mind does, how do you tap into yourself? You just have to work on these things that you really believe in and not worry about what other people are thinking about you. There are people that are around you that, may tell you, hey, that's not gonna work. Or, don't you know how hard that's going to be? You just have to turn that off. And that's why I go back to the sphere of influence, and if you surround yourself with people that believe in you and that believe in your dreams and who you are and what you're about, that just maximizes all of your potential. I was living in Maryland at the time with my husband, my late husband, and he came home with a black and white flyer, and there's this giant walking over fire, 2,000-degree coals. And don't forget, I'm in corporate America, and you're handing me a black and white flyer. I'm like, okay, who is this guy? And we were always into Jim Rohn, Dale Carnegie, Norman Vincent Peale, Deming. I was studying Deming. I was teaching Deming and Kaizen. And John said to me, he said, no, this is a great mind. This is going to be a great mind. He said, you've got to meet this guy. And I said, well, what's these coals? And he said, no, don't worry about that. And I said, no, I'm worried. In business, when somebody says, don't worry about it, you should worry. And he said, well, that's just a metaphor. And I said, a metaphor for what? And he said, fear into power. And I'm like, I'm not in. like this whole walking over fire thing. Again, I'm into pragmatic, analytical science. I'm a chief information officer. I'm in major corporations. I'm into point-in-time analysis, statistical analysis, science. And here, somebody's telling me I'm gonna go walk over 2,000-degree coals because this is the new mastermind of the world. I'm like, okay, I don't know what you're on, John, but I'm out. And he's like, great, you're out, I'm in, I'm going. I was sweating it. I just thought, my husband is gonna die with some maniac walking over coals. Who is this Tony Robbins creature? He's going to see. I said, I have to go because I have to be there to save him. So I go, I'm in the room, and I'm listening to this guy. I knew it right away. And I just said to myself, this is it. This is the guy that's gonna have a huge impact on the world. Huge. I knew it. I have chills telling you it. And I said, I need to be around this person. I need to know more. I wanna know who he is, what he does, how he does it. I wanna know everything about him. This guy is gonna change my life, and he's alive. I can't get to Gandhi, I can't get to Jesus. I could read about them, I could study about them. There was something about him that he had that my mother had. And I didn't see it in a lot of people. I started my significant other, that's why I married him. And so that's how I met Tony Robbins. And of course, I walked on fire and I bought into that, and that was just fear into power, and meaning that, you can control your body, you can control your emotions, you can control your focus and your immersion, and you can basically do whatever you want to do if you believe you can. And I believed I could be around him and learn from him and work with him. There was no doubt about it. My attitude is that he wanted to be around me too. He selected 10 people, 12 people from around the world that he knew and worked with, and I just was blessed to be one of them. And every year we went to Maui, Hawaii with Tony, and it would be one-on-one with Tony for like 15 hours a day. I would learn the core of him. And again, it's about modeling. If you want to achieve a result in any area of your life, model someone that's already getting it, and that's how you collapse time. One of the things that really stands out, Tony had a gift for everyone. The first time we went off to Maui, and what he used to call certification, he took the 10, I think there was 10 of us or 12 of us, and said, I've got a special surprise for you. Oh, I knew something was going down. We get dropped off in an airfield, and there's a plane there, and there's gear, jumping gear, sky jumping gear, and he's like, have fun, guys, and he splits. So he had flown in ex-Vietnam guys, jumpers, from California to Maui, and the plane looked like it also came from Vietnam. And I had never skydived before. So he took the 10 of the trainers, and we went into a plane, we put the gear on, and it wasn't just that, but we were gonna go tandem. Now, to these guys that I have never met in my life before, I'm gonna be hooked on with these hooks like this to do tandem jumping. So these guys didn't look like I wanted to get tied up to them and jump out of a plane. They would be the last guys that I would want to be tied up and jump out of a plane. But I thought, I just trust, it's gonna be okay, and I'm gonna learn from this. And again, I said, okay, what's my outcome? I could never give back all the gifts that I've been given. To having the most amazing mother, and even a father that was challenged, that was a gift. And my daughter, who is the love of my life and very, very successful herself, and coming from Brooklyn with holes in my shoes, and marrying my childhood sweetheart, as my soulmate, acquiring financial abundance, and being able to contribute. And I'm just a girl from Brooklyn, and like they say, you can take the girl out of Brooklyn, but you can't take the Brooklyn out of the girl.